What is up? Lou here from Stretch and Grow. And I'm always not too sure how to start these videos because, according to YouTube professionals, you got to hook the audience, you got to engage them. I got to make sure this video is about you. Because obviously, if you clicked on this video and you clicked on the title, whatever the title is going to be, I haven't decided yet because I still don't even know what I'm going to be talking about. But if you clicked on the title, it's because it relates to you. So I always have to be thinking about the person watching, which is what makes a good YouTube video, which makes good watch time, which makes good engagement. But I'm not a good YouTuber. So today, what I kind of wanted to talk about is recently I've been reading the Bible, and today I was listening to a verse by Mark, the gospel according to Mark. And it's very, very interesting because I like to read the Bible and look at it as metaphoric as opposed to literal, like as, Jesus as a metaphor. I'm pretty sure, I'm 100% sure he was a real person. But I think a lot of these stories, these parables are meant to illustrate lessons, very, very powerful lessons that if you actually look at the deeper meaning, you'll get a lot more out of the Bible. So for a lot of people get turned off by the Bible. I know today, particularly in the United States, it seems like they're trying to get rid of God or Christianity or anything like that. They want us separated. They don't want us to have any faith. They want us to be really, really attached to the physical, that everything that matters is what's going on in the world right now, as opposed to looking at the world as a spiritual place, because that's what I really believe it is. And that's actually what I think the cross is. If you look at the cross, I'm going to put the mic down real quick. The crossing like this is the cross is where the spiritual and the physical actually meet. And I think that's where we're at right now. We're in the cross paths between the spiritual and the physical. But what the elites, the globalists are trying to make us see is only the physical. If we don't see things with our own eyes, then it must not be real. And it states that in the Bible, for a lot of us, we don't have the eyes to see. But when we're ready, we'll actually see it. So where am I going with this? I have no idea. But in this video, what I want to talk about is a story that I read where it could actually help you learn to still and quiet your mind, particularly when you're anxious, when you have anxiety, when you're in panic, when you're worrying, when you're all over the place, when your thoughts are going from left to right to third, all over the place, when you're like a hamster on the hamster wheel. Today, I want to talk to you about a story from the Bible, according to Mark. It was also in Matthew also, but it's a story where Jesus took his disciples and was crossing the river or the lake or the ocean. I'm not really sure what it was. I don't really remember it too particularly, but he was crossing. And what happened was Jesus fell asleep. And as he fell asleep, the wind started to pick up and the storm started to pick up. And the waves started to get really, really rocky. And the disciples, they started to fight. They started to get scared. And they ran to Jesus panicking, saying, my Lord, like the winds are too strong. Do you not care about us? Because we're going to drown. And Jesus looked at them, stood up, and he went to the wind and the sea, and he told the sea to be still. Silence. Be quiet. And he rebuked the ocean in a way. And I'm kind of messing up the story, but basically when he did that, the storm calmed down, the winds went away, the water calmed down, and now there was just silence. There was just peace. And from there, Jesus looked at his disciples and said, what were you afraid of? Do you not have faith in me? What little faith do you have? Why were you so worried? Why were you so anxious? Why were you in such a panic? And when I was reading this story and I was actually listening to it. It's on YouTube, by the way. Listening to a guy named David Suchet, who's probably like the Michael Jordan of reading the Bible. He's like the GOAT of Bible readers. As I was reading it, I just had to pause it and I was like, wow, I believe this is a metaphor for the mind where Jesus is asking us, like, he's using the ocean, the winds, the seas, all of that as a metaphor for our minds. Because a lot of us, I would say more than 99% of us, we're in chaos all the time. Our minds are going crazy because we don't have any faith. We don't believe things is going to work out in our favor. We don't have trust in ourselves. We don't have trust in God. We don't have trust in the spiritual because all we see is the physical. So when he went to the water and the seas and the air and all of that stuff, and he told it to be still, to be silent, that's basically how we're supposed to live, with the silenced mind. Silence, presence is where we get to hear God. And it's usually during the mess, during the chaos, when the storm is really, really strong, that gives us the chance to really, really trust not only in ourselves, but in God to make sure that we're okay. But in order for us to do that, that when the storms is taking place, we have to have faith and decide consciously to still our mind. But that's so hard to do, ain't it? How do we go about doing that? Well, it's a practice, right? You know, one of the things you could do is when your mind is starting to go crazy, you could actually imagine that story. So when your mind's going crazy and you're starting to get anxious, you're starting to get worried, what you could start to do is metaphorically or visually start to imagine your mind as a storm and it's raining really hard and the winds are blowing. And what you could do is decide to sit in the storm and observe it. Really, really observe it. Allow it to pass on through. So whatever your thoughts are, whatever you're worried about, imagine it as a storm. And as you imagine it as a storm, when you're ready, tell your mind, tell your storm to be still, to be silent. And then imagine the sea starting to calm, the sky beginning to open, and the sun starting to shine. And it's a practice. Now, of course, you're going to have to remember doing this the next time you're panicked, the next time you're anxious, the next time you're worried. But this stuff works. Next time you're feeling really, 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 really anxious or really worried about anything, take a second, take a nice deep breath and say, okay, my mind is a storm right now. The seas is a little bit rough. The waves is rough. And what you could do is step out of the water, because a lot of us, what we're doing is we're drowning in it. We're like the disciples that were fighting. Because what happens is the voice in your head starts to fight with your body, starts to fight with your mind. Everything starts to fight. Everything starts to be in chaos. Everything starts to get angry with each other. You start to create crazy amounts of stress in your body, your mind, your spirit. Everything gets crazy. What you have to do is turn back to the witnessing consciousness, which is in essence, Jesus in this story. Step out of the water, observe the water. And as you observe it, tell it to be still, silent, quiet. And just that simple exercise alone could literally transform your life. And then once the sky starts to open in your mind, imagine your mind starting to open up, the clouds start to depart, the waves start to calm down, the water is nice and quiet, and imagine the light coming down. Imagine the sun coming down and shining through your whole entire being. And that's a simple and easy way to still the mind. But you got to practice it. So what I would actually recommend is maybe, just maybe, if you're open to it, set a timer every 2 hours. Maybe you could get one of those mindfulness apps where a bell goes off. And every 2 hours when the bell goes off, do the drill. Imagine your mind as a sea, a storm. And as the bell goes off, imagine it. And then imagine you telling your mind to be still, to be quiet, and get present to the moment. And allow the clouds to depart, the waves to, smooth out, the water to become nice and still. And then basically allow the sun to shine through, and it shines on to your entire being. And this is a great exercise to really, really build self-trust, build anything, build confidence within yourself, build faith, and just understand that everything is going to be okay. So it's just a reminder that everything is going to be okay as long as you trust in yourself, you trust in God, you trust in your spirit. And this story illustrates that. Now, again, even if you're not religious, you're not into Christianity, it's just a great metaphor. Look at the oceans, the storms, the clouds, all of that as your mind. And all you have to do is get out of the water, look at it objectively, and tell it to be still. And once you tell it to be still, your thoughts start to clear, your energy starts to settle, allow the sun to shine on through you, and know that you'll be okay. So that's it for today's video. That's all I wanted to get on here and say. Figure I'd make a video for today. Share the lesson that I learned. Hopefully you guys will practice it. Remember, every couple of hours, maybe just set a timer and try it out. And let me know in the comment sections what you think. If you like the video, please like. Of course, please share with a friend that might need to hear this message. And if you haven't already, subscribe now. Peace.